The story of the Jackson 5 is a tale of meteoric rise, intense family dynamics, and the harsh realities of the music industry. It's a story that begins with a shocking moment and ends with a brief reflection on the journey. In the summer of 1968, Joe Jackson, the patriarch of the Jackson family, had a vision. He believed his sons Rebbe, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Michael had the talent to become the next big thing in the music industry. With this belief, he pushed them relentlessly, organizing performances and seeking out opportunities. One of those opportunities came when he sent a tape of the boys performing to Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records. Within 2 days, Gordy had seen the footage and was impressed. He decided to sign the Jackson 5, and in July 1968, Joe Jackson, without fully understanding the contract, signed a deal with Motown. This decision would set the stage for both the rise and the eventual fall of the Jackson family. Despite signing as the Jackson 5, Berry Gordy quickly identified Michael as the star attraction. At just 9 years old, Michael's talent was undeniable. When the group made their public debut as a Motown act in August 1968, they were introduced as the Jackson 5, featuring sensational 8-year-old Michael Jackson. Gordy's decision to feature Michael so prominently was a strategic move, and it paid off. A month later, he arranged for Michael to stay at Diana Ross's house, hoping that the successful singer would become a mother figure to him and help him navigate the pressures of fame. Meanwhile, the other brothers were left to stay in less desirable hotels, which only fueled the growing tension within the family. The Jackson 5's first single, I Want You Back, was released in October 1969. Initially an instrumental track called I Want to Be Free, it was transformed into a vocal sensation with Michael taking the lead. The single was a massive hit, reaching number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 in the UK. It sold over 6 million copies worldwide and was later ranked number 121 on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. This success was just the beginning. The next 3 singles, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, all reached number 1 on the Hot 100, making the Jackson 5 the first act in history to have their first 4 singles all reach the top spot. The world was captivated by the young group, and Jackson Mania swept the globe. The Jacksons' success brought them fame and fortune, but it also brought challenges. In late 1969, the entire family moved to a house in Los Angeles, leased by Berry Gordy. Michael moved out of Diana Ross's home to join his family, but the favoritism he received from Gordy continued to strain his relationships with his brothers. The group's relentless touring and media appearances took a toll on their personal lives. Joe Jackson, always the driving force, pushed his sons to the limit, often at the expense of their well-being. In 1971, Motown decided to allow Michael to release a solo single while remaining a member of the Jackson 5. Got to Be There broke into the top 5 in both the US and UK, and sold over 1.5 million copies. This success was followed by Rockin' Robin, which reached number 2 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 in the UK. The other members of the Jackson 5 began to realize that Michael could achieve success without them. This realization only deepened the rift within the group. The Jackson 5's international tour in 1972, which included stops in England, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Switzerland, China, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and Africa, was a testament to their global appeal. However, the group's decline was already beginning to show. Their record sales were dwindling, and Motown started to focus more on other acts like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. Joe Jackson was furious, but he had other pressing issues to deal with. In January 1973, his wife, Catherine, filed for divorce after discovering that one of his mistresses was pregnant. The scandal threatened to tarnish the wholesome image of the Jackson 5, and Motown executives worked to persuade Catherine to reconcile with Joe. Surprisingly, she did, and the family's public image was temporarily restored. Despite the personal drama, the Jackson 5's 1973 album, Skywriter, was their least successful, selling only 2.8 million copies worldwide and failing to chart in the UK. Joe Jackson, determined to keep his son's career on track, began looking for a new record deal. CBS Records offered a lucrative contract, including a $750,000 signing bonus, a $500,000 recording fund, and a guarantee of $350,000 per album. The deal also promised the Jacksons a 27% royalty rate, a significant improvement over the 2.7% they were receiving from Motown. However, there was a major obstacle. Jermaine had married Hazel Gordy, the daughter of Motown's founder. When presented with the CBS contract, Jermaine refused to sign it and called Berry Gordy, his father-in-law, to explain his decision. The tension within the family reached a breaking point when Jermaine left the group 30 minutes before a performance at the Westbury Music Fair in New York. Marlon, Michael's younger brother, had to fill in for Jermaine on stage. Jermaine's departure was a significant blow to the group, especially to Michael, who had always relied on his older brother for support. The Jackson 5's relationship with Motown soured, and in June 1975, Berry Gordy notified Joe Jackson that Motown owned the name The Jackson 5. Gordy also sued Joe, The Jackson 5, and CBS for $5 million, threatening to release unreleased songs from the group's Motown archive. The Jacksons were in a difficult position. They were being sued, owed money to Motown, and could not use their name. To stay in the public eye, Michael and his brothers, now joined by their sisters, launched a TV series called The Jacksons on CBS. However, the show was not well received, and it was canceled after less than a year. Despite these setbacks, the group signed with CBS under the new name The Jacksons, and released their first album in 1976. The album was not a major hit, and their next release, Go and Places, in 1977, was a disappointment. CBS considered dropping the group, but an executive intervened, giving them one more chance to prove themselves. By 1978, Michael was 19 years old and increasingly frustrated with his father's management. He decided to take a break from the family and focus on his own projects. This decision marked the beginning of Michael's journey as a solo artist, a journey that would see him become one of the greatest entertainers of all time. The Jackson 5's story is a complex one, filled with moments of triumph and heartbreak. Their rise to fame was rapid, but the pressures of the music industry and the dynamics within the family ultimately took their toll. Despite the challenges, the legacy of the Jackson 5 endures, and their influence on music and popular culture is undeniable.